Big moment for Alex Eala. She's back and ready to fight on clay. The 20-year-old Filipina starts her Linz Open campaign. A court statement incoming. Alex Eala kicked off her clay season in dominant fashion, defeating hometown bet Julia Grabber 6-4, 6-3 at the Linz Open.
The Philippines princess is at war with clay, and the whole world is watching.
Big moment for Alex Eala. She's back and ready to fight on clay. The 20-year-old Filipina starts her Linz Open.
Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because we are about to talk about the most electrifying young tennis player on the planet right now. A 20-year-old girl from Quezon City, Philippines, who waltzed into the sport's biggest stages, knocked out Grand Slam champions like she was clearing weeds from a garden, and made an entire nation stop breathing every single time she stepped onto a tennis court. We are talking about Alexandra Eala, and right now, she is standing at the most important crossroads of her young career.
Court statement incoming. Alex Eala kicked off her clay season in dominant fashion, defeating hometown bet Julia Grabber 6-4, 6-3 at the Linz Open.
The hard courts were her playground. The headlines were her home. But now, the clay season has arrived, and this surface, slow, grinding, punishing, and absolutely unforgiving, is asking one simple question. Is Alex Eala ready for the next chapter? Champions Tennisitics is here to give you everything, and we mean everything. Pull up a chair, because this story is just getting started. Let us go back to the beginning, because to understand where Alex Eala is right now, you have to understand where she came from. Born on May 23, 2005, in Quezon City, to a business executive father and a former national swimmer mother, Alexandra Eala was never your average Filipino kid. While most teenagers were figuring out social media filters, Eala was training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, one of the most elite tennis development programs in the entire world. And she was not just passing through, she thrived. In 2020, at just 14 years old, she won the Australian Open Junior Doubles title. A year later, she captured the Roland Garros Junior title, confirming her status as one of the brightest prospects in world tennis. And in 2022, she won the US Open Junior Singles title, becoming the first Filipino to win a major junior crown. The talent was always there. The fire was always burning. The question was never whether she could play, it was whether the world was ready for her. The world got its answer in March of 2025, and the answer was an emphatic, earth-shaking, jaw-dropping yes. Picture the scene. The 2025 Miami Open, one of the biggest hard-court events in the entire WTA calendar. And walking in as a wildcard qualifier, ranked 140th in the world, is this 20-year-old Filipina who nobody outside of the tennis nerd community was truly watching yet. And then, everything changed. Eala first shocked 2017 French Open winner Ostapenko in the round of 64. Then she stunned the 2025 Australian Open champion Madison Keys in the round of 32. And then she did something that made the entire tennis world collectively drop their coffee. She took down six-time Grand Slam champion and former world number 1 Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals. Let that sink in. A wildcard qualifier. Iga Swiatek. 6 Grand Slam titles. Gone. Just like that. She won that match 6-2, 7-5, and secured a historic place in the semifinals of the tournament. The Philippines went absolutely delirious. People were waking up at 3 in the morning just to watch their girl play. Sports journalists started comparing her cultural impact to Manny Pacquiao. And honestly, can you blame them? Manny Pacquiao, people. That is the level of national icon we are talking about here. The rest of 2025 kept delivering. She won her first WTA title at Guadalajara. She registered back-to-back top 10 wins over Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, reached her maiden tour final at Eastbourne, and then topped it all off by recording the first main draw Grand Slam victory by a Filipino player in history at the US Open. That was against Denmark's Clara Tauson, and it was history. The first Filipino to win a main draw Grand Slam match in the Open era. Just writing that sentence gives you chills. Her year-end ranking was a career-high number 50. From qualifying wildcard to top 50 in the world, all in one miraculous season. The fairy tale was real. And then 2026 arrived, and Eala did not slow down, she accelerated. The new year began with a semi-final run at the ASB Classic in Auckland. Then came the Middle East swing, and this is where things got truly spicy. She stormed into the quarterfinal round of the Abu Dhabi Open, a WTA 500 tournament, before falling to world number 11 Ekaterina Alexandrova. But the real fireworks came in Dubai. In the third round of the Dubai Championships in February 2026, Eala dispatched world number 8 Jasmine Paolini with a scoreline of 6-1, 7-6, 6-1. She destroyed the 8th best player in the world 6-1 in the first set. The Philippines' jaw was on the floor again. She eventually fell to Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals, but the message was sent loudly and clearly: Alex Eala belongs among the elite. Then came Indian Wells, the so-called 5th Grand Slam, and Eala made the round of 16. And with that result, history was made once more. She climbed to a career-high WTA singles ranking of world number 29, achieved on March 16, 2026, making her the highest-ranked Filipino in WTA Tour history. The highest-ranked Filipino in the history of the WTA Tour, not just in a generation. In history, a 20-year-old girl from Quezon City rewrote the record books and then went right back to hitting forehands. And if that is not worth celebrating, we do not know what is. But here is where the story takes a dramatic twist, because professional tennis is a game that giveth and taketh away with zero mercy. Miami 2026 was supposed to be Eala's coronation moment, a chance to defend the 390 points she had earned from that legendary semi-final run 12 months earlier. Coming in ranked number 29, seeded, no longer the underdog wildcard, she was expected to make noise. And for a while, she was. Now, a lesser player, a lesser spirit, would have gone quiet after that, logged off social media, hidden in a hotel room, called their coach in tears. But this is Alex Eala we are talking about. And Alex Eala does not hide. She sharpened her racket, reported back to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca for practice, and got herself ready for the clay season. Because here is the beautiful and terrifying truth about where she stands right now. The clay season represents both her biggest challenge and her biggest opportunity at the same time. The challenge? Oh, the challenge is very real. Eala has not managed more than one win in a clay court tournament since reaching the third round of qualifying at the 2024 French Open. Clay is a completely different beast. The ball bounces higher. The rallies are longer. Your legs get tested in ways hard court tennis simply does not demand. Players who live and breathe clay, your Swiatek, your Gauff, your Ostapenkos, they have years of accumulated feel for this surface baked into their muscles. And the stats back it up. Eala carries a 4-7 career record on clay and has never won back-to-back matches on the surface, 4 wins and 7 losses, on a surface that hosts one of the 4 Grand Slams. That is the Achilles heel of the Eala game, and everyone on tour knows it. The clay campaign opened in Linz, Austria, at the Upper Austria Ladies Linz Open. Eala made her debut against Austria's Julia Grabher, winning in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, in 1 hour and 42 minutes. A win, a promising start. The footwork looked more dialed in. The ground strokes were carrying more weight. There was reason to be hopeful. But then came Jelena Ostapenko in the round of 16. Former Linz champion, former Stuttgart champion, former French Open champion. And she dispatched Eala in straight sets, 6-4, 7-5. A punishing exit against a player who hits the ball like it owes her money. One step forward, one step back. Then came Stuttgart, Germany. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix. Gorgeous indoor red clay. A stacked draw with 7 of the WTA's top 10 players in attendance. And for Alex Eala, a first-round collision with Leylah Fernandez. Now here is where the storyline gets wonderfully complicated, because Leylah Fernandez is not just any player. Fernandez, ranked number 25 in the world at the time, is part Filipina. Her mother is Filipina-Canadian. Her father is Ecuadorian. So when these two stepped onto the court in Stuttgart on April 14, 2026, there was a layer of shared heritage charged in the air that made the whole thing feel like something more than a tennis match. It was the Philippines meeting itself across the net. The internet absolutely lost its mind. Fernandez beat Eala 6-1, 6-4 in 1 hour and 28 minutes, using her forehand to dictate rallies early and keep the 20-year-old Filipina from ever settling into the match. She raced to a first set at the cost of just 1 game. In the second set, she broke for a 5-2 lead and was serving for the match. And here is what makes this loss so classic Eala. Even in a bad defeat, she refused to roll over. She broke back. She clawed the score to 4-5 and saved 2 match points. She made Fernandez work. She made Fernandez sweat. But ultimately, the Canadian held her nerve and closed it out. Back-to-back early clay exits. Linz and Stuttgart. 2 clay tournaments. 2 hard lessons. 2 reminders that on this surface, Eala still has real work to do. But here is where you need to zoom out. Take a breath and look at the bigger picture. Because this is where Champions Tennisitics separates itself from the panic merchants and the doom posters. Alex Eala is 20 years old. She will not even turn 21 until May 23rd. She has been on the professional tour for a fraction of the time it takes most players to figure out clay at this level. And yet, despite all of that, despite the clay struggles, she is ranked number 45 in the world and sitting at number 17 in the 2026 WTA race, which tracks only points earned this calendar year. That is right. By the measure of what she has done in 2026 alone, she is one of the 17 best players on the entire planet. Let that breathe for a moment. And there is another piece of this puzzle that should have every Filipino fan absolutely giddy with anticipation. The points situation heading into the clay season is, believe it or not, wildly in Eala's favor. She has just 70 ranking points to defend through to the end of the French Open in mid-June. 70 points. That is almost nothing. Every win she picks up over the next 6 weeks is essentially free points, pure gain with almost no risk of further drops. With only 35 points to defend in Madrid and 10 in Rome, even a couple of modest wins could generate a meaningful net ranking gain. The ranking table is basically inviting her to a free buffet and asking her to eat as much as she wants. The schedule she has mapped out is the most clay-heavy and match-rich stretch of her career. Madrid is next, kicking off April 21st, a massive WTA 1000 event in the Spanish capital. Then Rome at the Italian Open. Then potentially the WTA 125 Catalonia Open in La Bisbal d'Empordà if she exits Madrid in the first week. And she has also confirmed entry into the Emilia-Romagna Open in Parma, a WTA 125 event running from May 11th to 16th, adding yet another layer to an already packed run of tournaments before Paris. And then, looming at the end of all of this like the final boss of a video game, is Roland Garros. Paris, the French Open, the most prestigious clay court tournament in the world. The place where her name is not yet written in the history books, but could be very, very soon. If Eala can put together 5 or 6 wins across these clay events, that will be enough to fire her back into the top 30. Get her deep into a WTA 1000 event or make a genuine run at Roland Garros, and the top 20 becomes a very real possibility. The top 20 people at 20 years old. Just thinking about it is enough to make the hair on your arms stand straight up. This is what makes the next 6 weeks feel like the most pivotal stretch of Alexandra Eala's career to date. Not because she is in crisis, she is very much not, but because this is the window where a good player either confirms their greatness or finds the ceiling of where their current game can take them. And speaking of perspective, consider what the broader tennis world thinks of her. She appeared on Andy Roddick's prestigious Serve podcast recently, and even the former world number 1 and US Open champion was left speechless. Roddick said after interviewing her, "It was a lesson in self-awareness. I'm sitting here at 43 years old, having been in this tennis game for a long time, and I'm going, there's no way I could ever be that pragmatic, that self-aware, especially in the eye of the popularity storm and the responsibility that comes with that position." Andy Roddick, Hall of Famer, calling a 20-year-old Filipino girl more self-aware than he ever was at the same stage. That is the Alex Eala effect. The cultural weight she carries is also worth pausing on, because this is not just a sports story. This is a story about national identity, about representation, about what it means when someone who looks like you reaches heights you were told were not possible. Eala addresses crowds in Tagalog. She carries the Philippine flag into every arena she enters. Her rise has sparked a genuine new interest in tennis both in the Philippines and among Filipino communities all around the world. People are setting alarms for 2, 3, 4 in the morning just to watch her play. Think about what that means. Tennis is not traditionally the sport of choice in the Philippines, but this woman is changing that in real time. Analysts have compared her cultural impact to players like Li Na and Ons Jabeur. Two players who single-handedly transformed their nation's relationship with the sport. Eala is doing the same thing. She is the door swinging open for an entire generation of Filipino kids who now believe that a tennis racket could be the instrument of their own greatness. She trains at the same academy where Rafael Nadal built his greatness. She has played against IGA Swiatek and won. She has beaten Madison Keys the same week Keys won the Australian Open. She has made a WTA 1000 semifinal as a wildcard nobody. She has won a WTA title. She has made the first main draw Grand Slam victory in Filipino tennis history. And she is not even 21 years old yet. The sheer audacity of her timeline is almost offensive to the players who ground away for years to get half as far. The road to Roland Garros 2026 will not be gentle. Without a seeding at Madrid and Rome, she will face tough opponents from the very first round. No buys, no mercy, just raw competition from the jump. Madrid's draw is routinely loaded with every top 10 player on the women's tour, and the clay at altitude in the Spanish capital plays unlike anywhere else. The ball flies faster, the bounce sits differently, and the matches can turn on a dime. And Rome is no easier. But remember, she has almost nothing to defend at either tournament. She can swing freely. She can play with the kind of abandon that pressure-filled defending never allows. That freedom could be the most dangerous thing on clay she has ever carried. And the long-term picture could not be more thrilling. She is still physically developing. Imagine the Alex Eala that exists 2 or 3 years from now, when the clay footwork is as natural as breathing, when the topspin has been refined and loaded with even more pace, when she has logged hundreds of hours on this surface against the best players in the world. The talent is already extraordinary. The mental strength is already off the charts. The competitive fire is already burning at a temperature most professionals never reach in an entire career. She just needs time. She needs repetition. She needs the specific and irreplaceable experience that only comes from stepping on a clay courts and losing some, winning some, and learning absolutely everything. She is multilingual, speaking English, Spanish, and her native Tagalog. She trains in Mallorca. She competes across every continent. She is a citizen of the world wearing a Filipino flag on her chest, and every single match she plays anywhere on this planet becomes a moment for an entire country to exhale together or hold its breath together. That kind of connection between an athlete and a nation is genuinely rare in sport. It only comes along once in a generation, and right now, this generation belongs to Alexandra Eala. So here is where we land. Champions Tennisitics family. The clay season has not been kind to Eala so far in 2026. 2 early exits. A ranking that has slid back to number 45. A surface that is still asking questions she has not found all the answers to yet. But none of that changes the story. None of that dims the light. Because the girl who walked into Miami as a wildcard nobody and walked out as a national icon is the same girl who is now heading to Madrid and Rome and eventually Paris with a fire in her eyes and a Roland Garros dream pounding in her chest. She has already rewritten history more times in 2 years than most players manage in an entire career. She is already the greatest Filipino tennis player of all time, and she is barely getting started. Madrid is right around the corner. Rome is coming. And then Paris, the city of light, the orange clay, the stadium where legends are made. Whether Alex Eala makes a deep run this clay season or is still building toward that breakthrough moment, one thing is absolutely certain. When she walks onto that court at Roland Garros, millions of Filipinos around the globe will be watching, believing, and feeling something that transcends sport entirely. That is pride. That is legacy. That is Alexandra Eala. If you are as locked into this story as we are, you already know what to do. Smash that like button right now. Do it without thinking twice. Subscribe to Champions Tennisitics if you are not already part of this family, because we are covering every single step of the Eala journey all the way through Roland Garros and beyond. And drop a comment below. We want to know, do you think Alex Eala makes a deep run at Roland Garros 2026? Can she crack the top 20 by the end of the clay season? Or is this still a year of building blocks before the real explosion? Tell us everything. We read every single comment. The Champions Tennisitics community is the best in the business, and we will see you in the next one.
Like and subscribe for more updates.